Once upon a time, in the golden age of the Islamic world, under the dusty skies of 10th century Basra, a boy named Al Hasan ibn Al Haytham was born. He wasn't born into wealth or royalty, but he was given a gift far more powerful, a burning curiosity, a hunger for truth, and an imagination that refused to be silenced. As a child, Al Hasan would stare at the stars at night, wondering what lay beyond them. People believed vision occurred because light came out of the eyes. But Ibn Al Haytham couldn't accept that. He questioned, if light comes from the eyes, why can't we see in the dark? Impressed by the scholar's brilliance, the Caliph asked him to devise a method to regulate the flooding of the Nile River. Boldly, Ibn Al Haytham accepted the challenge. He would ask questions. No one had answers to questions about light, vision, reflection, and the very nature of how we see. While other boys played in the streets, he studied shadows, glass, and water. In his early years, science was dominated by Greek ideas, particularly the theories of Ptolemy and Galen. He punched tiny holes through shutters, watched beams illuminate dust in dark rooms, and experimented with lenses, mirrors, and reflection. He repeated experiments, changed variables, wrote down results, and urged others to do the same. His doubts led him to study the works of Euclid and Aristotle. In the silence of his confinement, surrounded by shadows and walls, he made the most of his solitude. His prison became his laboratory. To protect himself, he feigned madness and was placed under house arrest. In it, he explained how we see, how lenses bend light, how reflections work, and how illusions can trick the mind. It influenced everything from the invention of eyeglasses to telescopes and cameras. But instead of blindly accepting them, he challenged their ideas, something rare, even dangerous, at that time. He wrote about mathematics, astronomy, psychology, and philosophy. He believed that truth must be pursued with humility, not arrogance. To him, understanding the universe was a form of worship, a way of unveiling the wisdom of the Creator, and enters the eye, and that the eye itself is a complex receiver, not a sender of light. He didn't want to believe. He wanted to know. He returned to his books, his instruments, and his students. His influence can be seen in the works of Leonardo da Vinci, Galileo, and Newton. But rather, the seeker of truth is one who suspects his faith in them and questions what he gathers from them. Ibn Al Haytham's growing reputation reached the court of Caliph al-Hakim in Cairo. But once he inspected the river and realized the project was beyond the engineering capabilities of his time, he feared the Caliph's wrath. A man who saw farther, not with his eyes, but with his mind. His story reminds us that light doesn't only come from the sun, it also shines from within those who dare to seek truth. Though confined, Ibn Al Haytham was not defeated. He began conducting experiments with light. And then, the moment of clarity. He realized that light travels in straight lines, that vision occurs when light reflects off objects. Ibn Al Haytham wasn't satisfied with just theorizing. He tested. This approach, revolutionary in its time, laid the foundations of the modern scientific method, a process based on observation, hypothesis, experimentation, and conclusion. Centuries later, scientists like Roger Bacon, Kepler, and even Newton would build upon this method. His greatest work, Kitab al-Manazir, or the Book of Optics, was written during this period of imprisonment. The book was later translated into Latin as De Aspectibus and became a foundational text in Europe for centuries. But Ibn Al Haytham's work wasn't limited to optics. He once wrote, "The seeker after truth is not one who studies the writings of the ancients and, following his natural disposition, puts his trust in them." Ibn Al Haytham was both a scientist and a deeply spiritual man. He saw no contradiction between faith and reason. He encouraged questioning, exploration, and intellectual honesty, all rooted in a profound belief that truth, ultimately, serves humanity. After years under house arrest, Ibn Al Haytham was released. But he didn't return to fame or courtly life. He continued to write until his death around 1040 AD in Cairo, leaving behind over 90 works, many of which would shape science in both the Islamic world and the West. Centuries after his death, European scholars called him Al Haytham, and his theories were taught in medieval universities, and even today. Every time a beam of light passes through a lens, or a telescope reveals a distant star, or a camera captures a moment, we are living in Ibn Al Haytham's legacy. Question what you know. Truth begins with doubt. Patience can turn prison into progress. Even in isolation, knowledge can illuminate the world. Ibn Al Haytham wasn't just a scientist, he was a visionary.